Once your colouring or your transfer is all ready for stitching, then we're going to prepare it for the hoop. So this is the colour K version. If you've just done the iron-on transfer version, same thing. We're not going to do any obviously colouring or sealing, but if you've just got your transfer, same thing. We then, out of your kit, find the fusible stitchery stabiliser, and you'll feel a rough side that is the glue and a smooth side that's not. So we're going to place the glue side up and pop your piece of linen on top. You may have already pressed this, or you may not. You can press it at the same time as you're applying the stabiliser. Just give it a little press from the front to get it partially stuck. And then I like to turn it to the back and use a pressing cloth because your hot iron may catch that stabiliser. So this is one of our pressing cloths, but you can just use a scrap of fabric, something like that, and give it a further press. Now the stabiliser likes steam for 20 seconds on each section to get a really good stick. If you don't have steam in your iron, you can use a spritzer or a spray bottle just to wet that slightly. Otherwise, put steam in your iron. And then a good 20 seconds on each spot to ensure that your stabiliser is nice and flat and doesn't bubble up or come off while you're stitching. A stabiliser is essential in my mind for several reasons. One, obviously it stabilizes the fabric, so if the fabric has quite a loose weave and moves around, it stabilizes it. It also hides threads shadowing through from the front so that you can jump across stitches and you can knot on the back and it won't matter. And it just gives a lovely feel to your work. It helps with the tension so you don't pull your stitches too tight and pucker up your fabric, and once the stitching's finished it will still look lovely and flat. Okay, so our stabiliser has been applied. The next step is to put it in our hoop. Now the hoop that comes with your kit is a 6-inch bamboo hoop, like this. If you're doing lots of these, you can save this hoop just for display purposes afterwards rather than using it while you're stitching. And you could get yourself one of these stronger plastic hoops that is not expensive, and this is my favorite hoop for getting a nice taut piece of fabric for stitching. These are absolutely fine if you're just doing it once. You can use it to stitch and then use it to frame and display, but if you're doing lots of embroidery, I recommend getting yourself a plastic hoop like this. I'll take you through both. So we undo the tightening screw so it's nice and loose. Take out the center ring, pop that on your surface and pop your prepared fabric over the top, and then we're simply going to pop the outer hoop on, push it down so that it's level or just below the inner hoop, and then tighten up this screw. Once you've got it finger tight, just pull all the edges to make sure they're down flat and tight in the hoop. You don't want it stretched, just taut but not stretched, and then give it a last final tighten. You can use a screwdriver in the end there if your fingers aren't strong enough to tighten that, but that will do, and then it's ready for stitching. If you're using the plastic hoops, now I've got that very tight, just pop it out. Again, we take the center ring, and on most of them, on one side it will say, this says this side up, and some brands say top on there. but you can see that there's a little ridge on one side of the center hoop. See, there's a little ridge sticking up there. That is the top. So set the inner ring down with that to the top. Place your fabric over it. We've got our outer ring widely open. Pop it over the top and then pop it until that ridge sits out in front of the center hoop. Tighten it up. Give it one last final tighten and pull by pulling around the hoop. Tighten up a bit further. And you can see that the inner hoop, the ridge, is popping out the top of the outer hoop, therefore locking in that fabric nice and tightly, but also raising the surface above the outer hoop so you've got full access with your needle and thread when it comes to stitching. Full viewing and full access, so you're not trying to scoop down inside a hoop in here, which makes it much more difficult. There you are, your fabric is stabilised. The stabiliser has been applied and it's in your hoop, ready to grab the needle and thread and start stitching.